Their spouses. No live crowds to react these days. Politics is about mostly empty rooms. Of course, it's a time of heavy hearts. You've just heard the vice presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, wrapping up her historic speech as the first woman of color nominated to the ticket of a major party. She also, if you were watching, then you know, opened tonight's session with a warning about the threats to voting rights presently in our country. And before that, we heard the sharpest attack yet from Trump's predecessor, former President Barack Obama, who spoke live from the Museum of the American Revolution in the city of Philadelphia. And from the woman Trump defeated, Hillary Clinton, a dire warning to the electorate not to sit this one out. Brian Williams here with you for the rest of the way, but we want to begin with what we have just witnessed with our friends Rachel Maddow, Nicole Wallace, Joy Reid, who remain with us and watching from our New York studios. Rachel, I want to get your thoughts on tonight and what we have just witnessed. And I'm tempted to say, you think you know somebody, and I don't mean us in the business. I mean us as American consumers and citizens who had a good number of Barack Obama speeches to watch over 8 years of his presidency. You think you know somebody, and then tonight, someone and something altogether different.
Yeah, and actually, I would apply that analysis, Brian, to both of the culminating speeches tonight, both to President Obama's speech and to Senator Harris. Senator Harris has been I'm from the part of California that she's from. She's been a public figure to me for a very long time. I've paid very close attention to her as a potential presidential candidate. I really thought she was going to win the Democratic presidential primary this year. I was completely wrong. She didn't even make it to Iowa before she dropped out and ended up endorsing Biden. But I felt like I knew her before I saw her give this speech tonight, and this was a different Kamala Harris. This was more like what she is like in person. If you have the opportunity to meet her off camera, that warmth and that personal willingness to show you who she is and to talk about things that matter to her in a way that, you know, can soften your heart a little bit. And I think of her as a politician and as a public figure as being kind of nails, as being really tough. It's part of the reason that I've always thought she'd be an excellent general election candidate against Donald Trump or any Republican. But tonight, for her to do so much biography, so much talking about her mother as the most important person in her life, just the part where she said, you know, I'm thinking about that 25-year-old Indian woman, all of 5 feet tall, who gave birth to me at Kaiser Hospital in Oakland, California. To turn to that, my mother taught me the service to others gives life purpose and meaning. That's a side of Kamala Harris that is very accessible, I think, and warm and kind of loving in a way that I think she's been so tough as a public figure. She hasn't shown much of that. So that, to me, was a surprise. President Obama's speech tonight slayed me. I'm sure people have different opinions about it because it's a different kind of thing from him. But his warnings that we could potentially be at the end of American democracy scared me, and I found upsetting and hard to watch. But just powerful. Powerful stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I first of all, I'd just like to co-sign everything that Rachel Maddow just said, because I agree. You know, to go to President Obama for just a moment, I was lucky enough with E.J. Dionne to write a book about Obama's speeches, right? So President Obama can be a poet. There's a kind of speech he gives, particularly his eulogies, that are all poetry and that take you through these emotional chords of American history. He's a writer. So he speaks like a writer, and he participates in writing his speeches, which is unusual for a politician. And so he has this very poetic and very almost dramatic sort of sense. That was not the kind of speech he gave tonight. This was President Obama saying, I sat in that office, and I want you to listen to me because I'm warning you, because I know it from inside the job, that there's a danger here. This was the speech that Obama has given throughout all the speeches I've read or watched that absolutely did feel like the most of a warning. And I think it was warning about the potential end of America. And I mean, that seems dramatic when people say it and people throw around, if we have 4 more years of Trump, the country will end. But there is a fundamental sense that if you break every institution that made it possible for there to be a Barack Obama, it will end. will be another thing. So I think his speech was important. I think it was one of the most important speeches I've ever heard him give. On Kamala Harris, again, I will agree with Rachel Maddow. She is extremely nice, right? And so I think that the hard-charging, tough person that we're used to seeing rip apart Bill Barr and make him seem that he's about to need a Depends, right, is the kind of person that we're used to. But she's also capable of just being this. And her story about her mom is so poignant to me personally. I also lost my mom to cancer, so that's the part at which I really probably need a Kleenex because, losing your mom and not having a mom with you during these big moments in your life when you're achieving big things is so personal that for a politician to explain that and to share that with the public, it's something Barack Obama also understands and dealt with. And I think the pain that politicians bring to the table is what makes them empathetic and makes them real. Joe Biden obviously has exactly the same ability to channel that personal. And she did that tonight. And normally she's fiery in her speeches, but tonight she was really lovely and loving, and I think that was important. I also want to shout out the Elizabeth Warren speech, and I will give the total credit to Rachel, who noticed the BLM in the background.
With the little blocks?
Yes, the little blocks that said Black Lives Matter. Gave me a little bit of life. Love that. And Gabby Giffords. I think that
the Gabby Giffords thing was incredible.
The Gabby Giffords and the oboe, a lot of emotion there. And obviously, this was the all-star team of Democratic women: Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Gabby Giffords. It was an all-star.